Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have tried fifth time now to do this video because there's so much noise. You can probably hear the plane going past, maybe. So now I'm doing this video because we're all, well, in the UK the gym's opening on Saturday. Some of you are probably already back in the gym and you're all excited. I am friggin' excited to get back into the gym, so I just thought I'll give you some tips on what to do and how to achieve your training goals. And I've done one about 10 things I wish I knew before I started lifting, but this is slightly different. It's talking about how to kind of ease yourself back into the gym. So I'll give you some top tips on what ideally you should be doing to try and achieve your training goals. So before I get into the video, don't forget to like if you enjoy it. Make sure you leave a thumbs up. That's the same thing, and don't forget to subscribe. It's 9 AM, it's too early. Okay, so we'll start with the first point. The first thing is take it easy, chill the F out, because I know, like most of you and myself as well, when the gym opens, our first instinct is to just run into the gym and just start doing everything. Bicep curls while squatting and Bosu ball, I don't know, squats and gymnastic muscle ups all at the same time. So take it easy. Don't do that. Treat this as a deload week. And what I mean by that is everything you normally used to do before in a session, scale that down. Don't forget you have been away from the gym for months, myself for 3 months. We're not going to be as strong, and the worst thing you can do is go back and try and do all your 1 rep maxes. You will injure yourself. Yes, you will be weaker, so hence why I said treat it like a deload week. Go in do half of what you normally do. If you normally do 5 sets of squats, maybe do 3, 4, maybe do 50% of your 1 RM, and then take that week as a deload week. Take that week as your week to just reintroduce yourself into the gym. Treat it like you are almost a newbie and you're starting again, because yes, there's muscle memory and things like that, but your body's not used to a lot of heavy load, especially if you've been training at home with nothing but your body weight or just dumbbells and some kettlebells. So take it easy, chill the F out. Okay, so the second tip, the most important thing is, I would say to you, what are your goals? Now, most of you say, I want to look like Arnold, or I want to look like, I don't know, The Rock, or you would say I want to look like Kim K, or I want to look like, who else, your favorite fitness influencer, for example. That's not a goal. I know it sounds like it's a goal, it's not. You need to be smart with your goal. I've talked about this before. I also want to say that I have talked about nutrition, setting nutrition goals. I have a video on that. I'll try and link that video, and also watch the 10 things I wish I knew before I started training even video, because again, a lot of these correlate. So make your goals smart. If you said to me, I want to look like The Rock, that's not a good goal. A goal being smart would be, I want to look like The Rock, who is 100 kilos, yes. You then have to know his measurements, and also remember you would never be The Rock. Genetics plays a huge part. Your body part, you just wouldn't look like him. So yes, of course you might want to achieve something similar. So, a perfect example will be, I want to be 100 kilos and have 21-inch arms, or whatever. That's a lot more specific. That's a smarter goal. And then obviously from that, you will work on how you can plan and strategize your training to achieve that. This applies to CrossFitters too. So with CrossFit, if you want to be able to snatch 100 kilos, what are your goals to be able to get there? Just saying I want to snatch 100 kilos is not a smart goal. Just saying I want to deadlift 240 is not a smart goal. I mean, it's a goal, yes, but I need you to be able to be more specific with your goal. Is your goal measurable? How would you be able to measure your training to achieve your goal? What I mean by that is, are you aiming for, let's say, 200 kilos in 3 months, 220 in 4 months? How are you adding those small details that would help you achieve your goal? When writing your goals also, one thing is time. Is your goal time measured? For example, if you said, I want to be able to get my first muscle up that's too vague of a goal. I want to get my first muscle up in 6 months. Perfect. And then the question will be, what are you doing to achieve that by that 6th month? So anyone should be able to come up to you and say, what's your goal and how would you achieve that? Now, if you can't answer that question, your goal is not smart. If you said, I want to look like The Rock, I want to look like Kim K, well, what are you going to do to achieve that? You might say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. That doesn't tell me anything. We can all do that. What specific things will you be doing? And how would you be able to measure that? So let's say every 4 weeks, would you be weighing yourself? What are you doing in terms of nutrition? What are you doing in terms of periodizing your training, which I'll hit on the next point. So make sure your goals are smart, okay? And make sure your goals are realistic. So specific, measurable, okay? Achievable, because this is one thing that's actually important. Is your goal realistic? And is it time measurable? Can you measure it in time? How long have you given yourself to achieve said goals? Okay, so these are a few things to take into account when setting your goals. Whatever discipline you do, powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit, make sure your goals are smart. If you want to be the next Mat Fraser, perfect. But how are you going to be the next Mat Fraser? So next up would be one of the things that a lot of people don't do is have a structure to your training plans. And what that means is, if every single day your training is so different from one week to the next, how are you going to tell when you've made progress? How are you meant to tell what works and what doesn't work? So have a structured plan, maybe 4 weeks, and then you have a look at that and change it. But again, if I said to you, what does your training look like for the next 4 weeks? If you can't tell me, you need to fix that. Unless you have a coach who gives you different training plans every day, they'll probably have a reason. But if you're doing your own coaching, I know on my channel I post a lot of different workouts, but they're not structured. With my CrossLifter plans, the training is structured, and that's probably one of the most important things. It doesn't matter who you are, if you do bodybuilding, CrossFit, powerlifting, structure your training and make sure there's a focus to your training. Remember when I talked about goals? How does that plan aid you into achieving your goals? You're not just copying what I do, what your favorite influencer does, but make sure you're structuring your plans to what works for you. Okay, I've got my PhD pre-workout. This time I've got the Perform, because I don't need a pump when doing the session. So as you guys know, I'm sponsored by PhD. I've got a video of what supplements I take, but if you use the code OBV25, you get a beautiful discount, and yeah, you're helping me out a lot. So all of you that have used my link, thank you so much, and I appreciate you. And now I'm about to get ready for this session because it's going to hurt. So my next tip will be what? Okay, so I'm actually training outside, as you can see, training with the coach man. Actually, I'm doing a video about getting back into the gym, training, what to do, and also how to hit goals as well, your training goals. There's a mix of points I've put, but what would be your key point as a coach?
The most important thing I'd say for now is the majority of you haven't been in the gym for 6 months, right? So whatever your numbers, if you know your numbers for your 1 rep maxes on all your lifts and all that good stuff before lockdown, it's going to drastically change. So don't walk into the gym and start going off your normal percentages. Let's go off 80% of your 1 rep maxes on all your programming, okay, to allow your body to get back into training again. Just be happy that you're back in the gym and enjoy it for the first 2 weeks. Stat that you won't know, 83% more likely to get injure yourself on your first session back after a long period of not training. 83%. So just go in and just enjoy a session, taper off, and after about 2 weeks, your body's going to be ready to go back into where you were cooking before. That'll be my advice.
There you go.
Come on now. Go, go, go! Speed! Step, step! Think about it, go! Drive over, drive!
So next tip, buy my resistance bands. No, I'm joking, it's not out yet. Next tip is periodize your training. And what that means is a lot of people's programs, some of you want to do 1 rep maxes every time for 6 weeks straight. The same applies to CrossFitters as well. You do endurance, you do conditioning, you do Olympic lifting, fine, but some people focus on one more than they do other, and then they wonder why they don't make any progress. Same with bodybuilding, same principle. Periodize your training just means having different phases. So maybe you have a strength phase for 4 weeks, hypertrophy phase for another week, which is just high volume. And this is exactly what periodization is. Adding things like accessory work for a week, add in some deload week, because I find that some people again plateau because they just training at 100% every single day, and then you get to a point where nothing's happening, you're weak, you're tired. Add deload weeks into your training. That is part of periodizing when it comes to training. So simply have different phases when you program your training. It could be adding things like 1 week of accessory work, 1 week where you just have a deload after 12 weeks of training, some strength phases, some strength training as well for maybe 3-4 weeks, and then another 4 weeks of hypertrophy training. Periodization, and that's in layman's terms, as simple as possible. That's what it means. Another tip for setting your training goals and what you could do to help achieve your training goals is to make sure that you have progressive overload structured into every single one of your training. So what that means is, if you've watched a lot of my videos, this could be time under tension, adding supersets, drop sets, negatives. A lot of these things all should be a factor in your training and would help in giving you the best result possible. This is also a great way to avoid hitting a plateau during your training because of adding progressive overload into your training routine. Time under tension is something that I always preach about when training, especially when it comes to trying to build as much lean muscle as possible during training, because this is something you want to do, keep the muscle under as much tension as possible for you to grow. And then you've got things like supersets, drop sets, which is again another way to really progressively overload the muscle to make it work harder to grow some lean muscle mass. And this applies to any training discipline. So if it's CrossFit, bodybuilding, powerlifting, weightlifting, progressive overload is your best friend. Okay, and lastly, the most important, I can't stress it enough, the most important point is you should also have fun and enjoy the process.
On that note,
yeah.
You broke your ankle. Yeah.